Captain Flexres stepped onto the surface of Proxima B with a calm smile, his boots pressing into the slightly violet-tinged soil, the air around him thick with subtle hints of alien pollen and dust. The sky above tinted a lighter shade of purple than Earth's famous sunsets. It had been a long journey, but to Captain Flexres and his crew aboard the DSF Kaliambali, it was simply another leg in their ongoing mission to extend a helping hand to any and all starbound species. Humanity's deep space freighter Kaliambali was more than just a bulky cargo vessel. It was a symbol of how far Terrans had come. The hull, though heavily reinforced to withstand deep space hazards, was painted in a friendly, welcoming white, with a bright blue insignia on its side. The emblem of the Terran Alliance, nestled near the cargo bay doors, were the words, "We bring friendship," and just below that, in subtler letters, "and solutions." When word spread throughout Proxima B that an alien craft had appeared in high orbit, the local population reacted with a mixture of awe and terror. They had not yet fully ventured into deep space beyond their own star system. Their attempts at rocketry had met with partial success, yet they remained hindered by the same obstacles that had shackled countless other civilizations. Unknown dangers lurking in the cosmic void, mysterious alien predators that attached themselves to hulls, and, most disturbing, rumors of legendary berserkers lurking somewhere in the infinite darkness. Proxima B, or Homeworld, as the locals called it, was a place of diverse landscapes, vast deserts of shimmering silver sand, wide prairies dotted with low-slung dwellings, and towering crystalline structures that served as city centers. The capital city boasted an airfield where the DSF Kaliambali had finally touched down, albeit with some caution. Captain Flexres, a tall, broad-shouldered man, wore a somewhat relaxed uniform and always kept a small device at his hip. Many natives had already observed that all humans, from the humblest technician to the highest-ranking admiral, carried these little plastic containers. The containers were akin to handheld consoles, screens shining with a faint glow. The Proximans had asked about them, but the humans typically just smiled, patted the device, and gave a cryptic answer like, "They help us see beyond." Councilman Hurt, the head of Proxima B's leading council, was there at the airfield to greet the human captain. He wore a flowing robe of shimmering green, an ornamental sash across his shoulders indicating his political authority, yet he also clutched a small, stylus-like device that had become quite fashionable among the locals, especially since the humans had begun sharing bits of their technology. "Captain Flexres," he began, voice trembling slightly, "welcome to our homeworld. We have prepared a reception for you. The entire council will be present. We are eager to discuss this continuing partnership." Flexres nodded. "That would be an honor, Councilman Hurt," he replied, his voice steady. "We have much to share. My crew will be unloading a few demonstration modules, as agreed upon. Meanwhile, I'll be happy to accompany you to your council chambers." It was not the first time that a Terran vessel had landed on Proxima B. Over 100 years prior, the Terran Alliance had first encountered the Proximan race. At that time, the Proximans' rocket-based technology was rudimentary. They had managed to put a few satellites into orbit, but their dreams of long-term exploration were thwarted by numerous roadblocks that many developing starfaring races experienced. There were the green xenomorph gremlins that drifted in space, small, multi-limbed creatures that latched onto hulls. They reproduced rapidly in microgravity, and if they attached in large numbers, they could hinder or even cripple vital systems like thrusters or sensor arrays. The Proximans lost many unmanned probes to these creatures. Then came the Builders, an ancient, extinct, and profoundly xenophobic civilization that had once roamed the galaxy before leaving behind automated ships programmed to eradicate any new race daring to step beyond its homeworld. These automated warships, called berserkers by humanity, lurked out in the silent darkness, scanning for the telltale signs of fresh starlight from emerging civilizations. When the Proximans finally pushed a crewed mission beyond their orbit, they triggered a berserker. The machine had come dangerously close to bombarding Proxima B before humanity intervened. The DSF Kaliambali, at the time part of a Terran merchant convoy, engaged the ancient mechanical predator without hesitation. A volley of Terran missiles, stealthy and with extraordinary range, tore through the berserker before it could even react. That was the day the Proximans realized humans were not just altruistic explorers but also formidable protectors. The Council had asked about the missiles. Inquiring how a mere cargo vessel could wield a weapon that was more suited to a battleship, Captain Flexres had merely smiled, patted his pocket AI, and said a single phrase, "Ghost Riders." He offered no further explanation. In the century that followed, the Terran Alliance assisted Proxima B in slowly, carefully overcoming every hurdle to full-scale space exploration. The humans never imposed their will or demanded payment for the advanced knowledge they shared. They simply watched, advised, and allowed the Proximans to discover solutions that fitted their culture and societal needs. The only consistent price the Terrans asked was that once the Proximans had something unique to contribute, they would add their experiences and stories to a grand database. Over time, Proxima B grew in both confidence and capability. They established colonies on nearby moons and planets within their star system. They improved their starships so that green gremlins were no longer a lethal threat, thanks to a proposed Terran solution. Electrified hull plating, rumored to be inspired by something called Churchill's statue, though no one quite understood the reference. As more and more Proximans journeyed outward, so too did their cultural influence expand. They brought their art, music, and entertainment to new worlds, forging alliances through friendship and trade. Yet, for all their advancements, there remained a sense of awe and mystery surrounding the humans' greatest secret. Finally, when the Proximans reached a level of technology that was roughly on par with the Terran Alliance, an invitation arrived. It was delivered through official Terran channels, but it bore the symbols of countless other allied species. The message offered the Proximans full access to humanity's secret, the very wellspring of knowledge that had helped humans tackle every known challenge in the galaxy. Councilman Hurt and the entire leading council nearly dropped their cups of spiced tea when they read the invitation. Even though the Terrans had shared so much, they had never before opened the doors to the heart of their vast cosmic advantage. On the appointed day, the council gathered in the largest auditorium on the planet. All the seats were filled with Proximan scientists, engineers, philosophers, religious figures, and artists. Everyone wanted to witness this moment in history. At the front stood Captain Flexres, along with a few other high-ranking Terran officials, while large screens displayed a slowly rotating image of a small handheld device. Captain Flexres began his explanation. "We call this database, or more accurately, this entire body of knowledge, the Great Terran Story Vault," he said, letting the translator devices render his words into the various dialects of Proxima B. Some might even call it the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. As an ancient Earth reference, he paced slowly, letting the magnitude of that phrase sink in. Over the centuries, our people wrote stories, created myths, constructed narratives. We turned them into books, plays, films, hyperreal simulations, everything. We covered every scenario we could possibly imagine. He paused, a reverent smile on his face. When we encountered a new problem, it turned out that somewhere, in some forgotten corner of our fictional universes, someone had already written a story that tackled a variation of it. Perhaps it was purely fantasy, or purely science fiction, or comedic, or tragic. But from these stories, generations of Terrans drew out solutions, ideas, what-if scenarios. Councilman Hurt looked around the massive auditorium. He could see the Proximan faces reflecting confusion and curiosity in equal measure. Captain Flexres continued, "We studied these stories in our universities, dissected them, wrote fanfics, as we once called them, delving even deeper into the plausibility of each scenario, how it might be adapted to real life. The more we explored, the more cross-references we found. It became a living library, updated daily, new entries constantly being added by storytellers, dreamers, and yes, even ordinary citizens." A visual demonstration flashed onto the screens. Images of old Earth books, digital tomes, cinematic reels, data archives from starships, each was labeled with timestamps and references. This accumulation of knowledge, imagination, and problem-solving came to be the single most powerful asset humanity possessed, Flexres explained. We discovered that for almost any threat in the universe, we had already dreamed up a strategy, a tactic, or an invention in our endless library of fiction. He turned to one of the screens, tapping it gently. We integrated that library with advanced AI, giving each Terran the ability to instantly consult this vast database. So when we faced those berserkers, we had a dozen or more strategies pulled straight from our old science fiction war stories. And that, Councilman Hurt, is how we humans ended up with such stealthy missiles on a simple cargo ship. The crowd murmured in understanding and renewed awe. Captain Flexrest gestured to a row of small, plastic-shelled devices laid out on a table near the stage. Today, we are gifting your people a direct link to this system, a personalized AI companion that can access the entire Terran story vault. Now, the knowledge of hundreds of thousands of Terran tales, and soon Proximan tales as well, will be at your fingertips. A wave of hushed excitement washed over the auditorium. Then came the final revelation. The phrase printed on every single device, in bold, friendly lettering, "Don't panic." A ripple of amusement spread through the human representatives, while the Proximans glanced at one another, not entirely sure what to make of this bizarre phrase. Councilman Hurt raised a hand. "Captain Flexrest, may I ask, what does 'don't panic' mean in this context?" Flexrest let out a genial laugh. "That phrase is an ancient motto from Earth, from an old piece of comedic science fiction, but it also carries deeper meaning. It reminds us that no matter how overwhelming the universe might seem, no matter how many berserkers lurk out there, no matter how many gremlins swarm your hull, or how impossible your engineering challenge may appear, there is always a solution, as long as you keep your wits and you don't panic." Councilman Hurt carefully lifted one of the devices, turning it over in his hands. The plastic was smooth. The letters, "Don't panic," etched into the casing. He pressed the power button, and a gentle glow emanated from the screen. The AI's interface loaded, presenting him with a friendly avatar offering help. Hurt stepped away from the podium, addressing his fellow council members. "All these years, the humans have helped us move from planetary isolation to interstellar presence. We have new colonies, new trade routes, and a sense of security we never dreamed possible. They never demanded tribute, never sought to conquer us. Instead, they have shown us the value of imagination, the power of stories, and now they share with us the tool that made it all possible." A thunderous applause erupted. Many Proximans stood up in their seats, their hearts pounding with joy and gratitude. Meanwhile, across the stage, the Terrans stood calmly, each one smiling in that characteristic, patient way that had long intrigued other species. Now that the secret was revealed, the Proximans wasted no time exploring its depths. Almost immediately, they started uploading their own cultural narratives, myths about building homes in the great silver deserts, cautionary tales about losing one's way during the moonless nights, epic poems about forging new communities under alien suns. The AIs adapted quickly, incorporating Proximan wisdom into the database. Over the next few weeks, it became clear that the synergy between Terran and Proximan creativity would yield even more robust solutions for future explorers. And just as humanity had done, the Proximans began to find parallels between their own fictional stories and real-world problems. In one instance, a young Proximan engineer discovered an ancient fable about desert creatures that could sense vibrations through the sand. He adapted that idea to create specialized surface sensors for starships, allowing them to detect berserker drones at greater distances. In another case, Proximan medical professionals dug into their mythic stories of shape-shifting healers, combining that knowledge with Terran accounts of advanced nanotechnology from far-future science fiction. Their new breakthroughs improved spacefaring medical procedures, even surpassing some existing Terran methods. Eventually, the Terran Alliance and the emerging Proximan star fleets cooperated on a joint mission. The aim was to explore a region known for ancient builder ruins. The combined fleet set off, each starship armed not only with physical weaponry but also with the intangible armament of a million imaginative solutions. On the bridge of the DSF Culliamboli, Captain Flexrest shared command with a Proximan counterpart. They had charted a course that would take them near multiple rumored berserker patrol zones. But no one felt the faintest sense of panic. Their pocket AIs, loaded with both Terran and Proximan stories, were ready to assist. Flexrest tapped on his AI interface, scanning through strategies referencing everything from submarine warfare to medieval sieges. "This one might work if we set up a decoy signal behind that asteroid cluster," he mused. "And here's another about using reflective coatings to disrupt targeted lasers." His Proximan co-commander, Councilwoman Reska, nodded in agreement. "And if the berserkers attempt to swarm, we can adapt your Ghost Rider missiles with a few of our Desert Echo sensor arrays," she said. "We'll see them coming before they even know we're here." Both turned their heads to the big, central view screen. The starlight beyond was cold and brilliant, the mission would be dangerous. The risk of encountering not just berserkers, but also other unknown threats, was high. Yet neither human nor Proximan wore an expression of fear. Instead, their mutual confidence illuminated the bridge. Word of this monumental partnership spread throughout the galaxy, reaching the ears or auditory organs of countless species. Many could hardly believe that the Terrans, who were so often described as daring yet surprisingly benevolent, would share their biggest secrets so freely, but the Proximans were living proof. As the newly christened Homeworld Star, a flagship crewed by both human and Proximan officers, embarked on its maiden voyage, the vessel proudly displayed the same motto across its main console: "Don't panic." The image of those words, shining on the ship's monitors, circulated far and wide, igniting hope among other developing races who heard the tale. For the first time, cosmic rumor carried a promise. If you can dream it, you can do it. If you run into trouble, share your story, and someone else's imagination might spark the key to your salvation. If that fails, rest assured that the Terran Alliance, alongside their new partners, will not hesitate to send a helping hand. It wasn't a utopia, nor a galaxy without peril, but it was a new era. No longer did species have to cower on their homeworlds, fearing that the galaxy was too harsh to handle. Now, they had a guide, one that was as ancient as it was futuristic, as whimsical as it was practical. Meanwhile, on Proxima B, ordinary citizens continued their daily lives. They farmed, they built, they loved, and they thrived. But with a renewed sense of confidence, even the smallest children carried AI devices, and they laughed at the phrase, "Don't panic," not fully grasping its significance yet feeling its reassuring warmth. In the dusty halls of the local universities, bright young Proximans gathered around their Terran mentors, eager to explore the next big question. "What happens," one student asked, "when we encounter a civilization that doesn't want our help, or a force we cannot match in strength?" A Terran scientist leaned forward, the corners of his lips twitching into a smile. "We'll figure it out," he said simply. "If no solution exists yet, someone will imagine one, and that idea will grow into a plan." An older Proximan professor chimed in, "Yes, that's the secret. Knowledge is infinite as long as we continue to dream. If we don't panic, we'll find our way." Back in orbit, Captain Flexres sipped a hot beverage in his private cabin aboard the DSF Kaliambali, gazing out at the stars. The swirling colors of Proxima B's atmosphere glimmered below. Drifting into the darkness beyond, he tapped on his own pocket AI, cycling through a few older Terran stories, rereading passages that had guided him through countless hardships. He paused on a personal favorite, an ancient comedic sci-fi text that had originated the phrase, "Don't panic." The gentle flicker of the screen illuminated his face in the dim light. He considered how far humanity had come, from the days when space travel was but a glimmer in their eyes. They had struggled too, lost many ships to unknown cosmic threats, but time and again, they returned to their stories, gleaning a fresh idea or angle. Terrans eventually discovered that imagination could be weaponized, harnessed, and shared. The berserkers, the gremlins, the vacuum of space itself. None of those threats could stand against a civilization that refused to be surprised by the unexpected. And now, as the humans welcomed the Proximans into their imaginative tapestry, they were preparing to do the same for other species. The galaxy was vast, and dangers never ceased. But with every new challenge came an opportunity to innovate, to tell a new story. Flexres closed the text, carefully set the AI device on his desk, and rose to look out the viewport. "We won't stop here," he murmured. "We've only just begun." The next morning, the Proximan Council broadcast a message to every city, colony, and space station under their banner. They explained that the humans had entrusted them with something priceless, not just technology but a way of thinking, a blueprint for infinite creative resilience. The Proximans, in turn, resolved to uphold the same principles, to share knowledge and ideas freely, to help those who were still stranded on their homeworlds, dreaming of the stars. In the days that followed, long columns of starships, both Terran and Proximan, set out from the orbital docks around Homeworld. Their destinations varied. Research outposts, frontier colonies, or uncharted territories, but each ship carried the same intangible cargo. Thousands upon thousands of stories, gleaned from multiple cultures, spanning centuries, if not millennia. A brand new chapter had begun in the cosmic drama of interstellar life. A chapter where fear could be confronted by fiction, where paranoia could be unraveled by collaboration, where "don't panic" was both an old joke and the rallying cry for an entire alliance. Soon enough, word of the Terran Proximan library spread even to distant corners of the galaxy. Some species, older and more cynical, dismissed it as a whimsical dream, but many struggling worlds clung to the hope that one day, the humans or their allies might find them too, bringing the wonder of the great Terran story vault. Back on Earth, the capital city of the Terran Alliance received transmissions from Proxima b, detailing how their newly minted star explorers were faring. The updates were often heartwarming, sometimes humorous, occasionally harrowing, but always underscored by a shared sense of triumph. In the corridors of Terran leadership, an official session was held, attended by ambassadors of the other allied races. They spoke about the Proximans with admiration, hailing them as a prime example of what could be achieved through open cooperation. At the end of the session, the Terran president concluded with a simple statement: "They've truly embraced our greatest tradition. Never giving up, always telling new stories." Of course, not every race would accept help as graciously, nor would every cosmic meeting be peaceful. There would be more berserkers, more battles, and more tragedies along the way. But with each confrontation, the Alliance would grow wiser, their collective imagination forging new answers. And so it was that Proxima b, once just another planet locked in the struggle to leave its gravity well, rose to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Terrans, with a new motto gracing every ship, station, and AI device: "Don't panic." Councilman Hurt, holding his newly activated AI, tried to mask the tears of gratitude and excitement in his eyes. He remembered that not so long ago, Proxima b's people had feared that venturing beyond their skies was a death sentence. Now, they had the means and the inspiration to chart their own destiny among the stars. He looked at the phrase again, repeated it quietly to himself: "Don't panic." Then he smiled and said to Captain Flexres, standing by his side, "Thank you for everything." Flexres turned, resting a friendly hand on the councilman's shoulder. "We're all in this together," he replied. "That's what the galaxy should be about." From that moment onward, every Proximan child would learn the story of how the humans came to their world and shared the secret of infinite possibility, and how a simple phrase, "Don't panic," became more than words. It was a promise, a guiding light in a universe teeming with both wonders and terrors. Every new invention, every new discovery, and every new crisis would serve as a chance to add another tale to the great Terran story vault, which was no longer solely Terran but now belonged to all who dared to dream. As Captain Flexres liked to say, imagination isn't just our heritage, it's our future. And so ends this tale of Proxima b's uplift. Yet in truth, it was only the beginning of countless stories yet unwritten, bound by neither planet nor prejudice, fueled by hope, curiosity, and the quiet refrain echoing through the stars: "Don't panic."